What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the Fightful Wrestling Podcast, January 11th edition. I'm joined by the Fightful.com owner, Jimmy Van. Only the second time you've appeared with us, Jimmy.
It's because I get overwhelmed in your presence. That's what it is. When I think about the fact that I'm on the air with Sean Ross Sapp, the way you do your intros, and you know how you like to do those nice little pauses in your mid-sentence? I get overwhelmed by it sometimes, and I'm in my 40s now. My heart can only take so much, so gonna try to get it down to once a week.
My New Year's resolution was to be more suspenseful.
I love how you do. You know what you need when you do that? You need the violin music in the soap operas.
Yeah.
And the guy's looking off in the distance, and then they hit the violin music. You need that violin music when you do those pauses.
I'd use Google Effects if it didn't suck so much and mess me up all the time. But it does. I think
Joe wants to get into that now too, I think.
The Google Effects?
He was saying something with Elias yesterday.
The Google Effects is going away.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess it's not popular enough.
Or it breaks the damn thing. There was one show we did where I had to go to my secondary profile. Then when the secondary profile failed, I had to finish the show on the phone. That was terrible.
I remember.
That was miserable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so long as you can do without having a pirate hat on your head, then we'll get by.
That's tough when I do those shows with Matt Riddle to not put a pirate hat on. Did you see who AIW booked against Lewis Linden, the guy who Matt had talked about?
I'm never hearing about it.
They booked Paul Burchill against him.
Oh, okay.
And I can't wait to bring that up to Matt tomorrow. We got a lot to talk about with Matt tomorrow. Marijuana in Nevada.
Yeah.
Pirates being booked. I'm going to be at Evolve. I got my ticket today.
That's good.
Going there all by my lonesome. Jason Kincaid is wrestling there as well.
You know, there's an outside chance that I might get a box at Mania.
Yeah.
And between you, me, and, the three people listening to the show right now, I actually hit up Matt Riddle, and I told him, I know you're probably wrestling a Mania weekend in Orlando. If I get this box, do you want to come? The first question that he asked, and I'm putting you over when I tell you this, the first question that he asked is, who all is going to be there? And I said,
what is it?
The first question he asked was, who's going to be there? Like, who all is going to be in the box? And I told him, if I do it, because there's an outside chance, but if I do it, I'm going to bring Sean in. And Matt's like, I'll be there.
Nice.
That's what he said. Since you're going to bail on him in San Antonio, he figured, I'll see you in Orlando.
I'm going to watch him in San Antonio.
You better, because I told you, I will pay for the beer. You just have to arrange the meal.
I can afford a beer. Now, hopefully I can get a hold of him the night before. Now, a lot of that depends on Kentucky weather. Like, will my flight get delayed? I'm very concerned about that. That's why I flew in on I'm flying in Friday instead of early Saturday, because I don't want to get caught up or anything like that in any inclement weather. But yeah, I'm going to be at Evolve all by myself. I'm going to go see my friends Corey and Nick there, and of course Matt and Jason. If you guys didn't read Jason's first article, I highly encourage you to do that. His gimmick, you would not know that he is so eloquent by looking at him, but it's under our exclusive wrestling section. It's called Wrestling in the Streets of Mexico for $42.26. This man, he's going places.
It was well written. How much editing did you have to do on that?
How about zero? An editor's note is all I had to do.
Very well written.
I was like, damn.
Yeah, that's great.
We've got tons of features up on Fightful.com, you guys, from podcasts to stuff I've written about The Miz, Roman Reigns, The Most Ridiculous with Anna Bauer, featuring her new set. What did you think of her new set?
I thought it was awesome. I think her dad, even though I don't know this man, he's a tremendous human being. I actually, right now, I don't know if you can tell on the podcast, I might have bags under my eyes. I've been up since about 3:30 in the morning because my daughter had a nightmare. She was afraid of the wind or something, and she would only sleep on me. And so I spent about 6 hours with a 30-pound little human being basically laying on my chest. So I'm not at my best today. So when Anna told me that her dad was that guy, I thought, that's awesome. I respect it.
She told me that he practiced his line several times.
Awesome. I mean, you can tell. You can tell. I mean, Anna is, an intelligent young lady. You can tell that she had a pretty good upbringing. So
A victim of our immigration system here.
Yeah. Did I tell you about our situation in my company here?
Yeah, you did. That's rough.
We
got people here who speak the language in America and Canada, paid their taxes, would have jobs. I mean,
right.
I think having Anna stateside would be a huge asset.
I don't want to turn this into a political podcast, but I just want to say very quickly, there's been a thing in Canada. I don't know if it's been happening in the U.S. as much, but there's been a thing in Canada where a lot of
did Russians pee on anybody?
No, the Russians like us.
Oh, okay.
But there's been a thing in Canada where there's been an influx of Syrian refugees coming in, and a lot of government money is going towards them, and it's okay for them to be here. But I had an employee, as Sean knows, who was very intelligent, very hardworking, owns a condo, pays her taxes, and she was basically told to go back to Nigeria. So it's a great system.
What happened to her condo?
She still owns it. She still owns the condo and has a renter in the condo, and is paying property taxes on that condo. So kudos to the Canadian government. Justin Trudeau, you're not watching this. If you were, come shovel my driveway.
You never know. I have been told by numerous people that people within WWE, TNA watch our shows from time to time.
Right. It's because you're such an attractive young man, Sean. They're smitten with you, you know?
It must be that must be it. I've had some people that weren't happy about some of the stuff that I've said, and others that were.
Right.
Did you watch the Kenny Omega Okada match?
I have not yet. You sent me the link to it. I heard that it got the infamous 6 stars, and I love the rating system. I think that it makes so much sense. So I will watch it. I haven't got around to it. I was sick for about a week, but I will. I heard it was really good.
It was immediately among my favorite matches, if not my favorite match of all time. But Alex posed a really good question on Monday. What does a 5.5-star match look like? Is
right.
that an insult now?
Right. Well, wasn't 5 the max before?
5 was the max, but there was occasion he'd give it 5+, but not like 5.25. Now that he's jumped from 5 to 6, it's like, well, 5.5 might as well be 4.5, right? I mean, how do you approach that?
How do you get to 7 now? And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the 90s when the Hardy Boys and the Dudleys and Edge and Christian, they were doing all this creative stuff in the TLC matches. And then all of a sudden, very much like ECW, you had to raise the bar because how do you have to raise the bar. So then all of a sudden, Jeff Hardy's jumping from the bleachers through tables. To me, this is kind of a similar thing. Meltzer has taken it now to 5.5 to 6. I can't wait till 7 comes along. I want to see what match is 7 stars. I want to check it out.
Guys, submit your questions using hashtag AskFightful in the YouTube chat or the regular chat, or you can tweet me. I don't really care. Either way, just get a hold of us. You brought it to my attention. I like to say either way a lot. You point out all of my tendencies, Jimmy.
No, what it is you have so little flaws that whenever a rare one comes along, if I can look for any way to make you even greater than you already are, I want to help you out. You have the nice little thing on your screen now that looks better with the logo and all that. It looks good, man.
Shout outs to Jimmy Van for hooking that up.
You like the software? Is it good?
I love it. It's fantastic. And Nigel, like I said, explained it to me like I was a 4-year-old and got it to me in 10 minutes. It was phenomenal. I loved it.
Awesome. You've got so much information on that thing now. It looks so professional.
We are asked, what is our Rumble prediction? Jimmy, this is kind of a cool Rumble. It's stacked very early. Lots of former world champions, lots of big names. This is a pretty cool situation. This is my first Royal Rumble I'll be going to live. And normally I'd be like, to hell with it. But it's on my bucket list. I want to go to at least one. And fortunately, we have Alex Pawlowski around maybe that weekend. His wife is due that week. So we're able to facilitate this. I'm able to get a little work done. I'm excited about this Royal Rumble because it's so unpredictable at this point. I don't know who's going to win. Who do you think is going to win?
So there's two things that I think look like they might happen. The first one is every year they have the one monster that eliminates a bunch of people. Pretty obvious Braun Strowman's going to be that guy. Every time somebody announces themselves for the Rumble, they always cut to the back and Braun's watching on a monitor. So he's going to be the guy to dump 10 or 12 guys out. Maybe I think Kane's got the record. I could see him beating that in this Rumble.
Roman broke the record.
Oh, of course, Roman broke the record. But I could see Braun being that guy. I actually think there's a chance Taker's going to win, and Cena's going to beat Styles, and then Taker's going to get the title shot against Cena. That looks to me like that is the direction they might be going, especially since maybe this is going to be Taker's last Mania, and I could see Vince wanting him to get the main event one more time.
There are a lot of people that have said the Taker-Cena match doesn't need the title. It doesn't need the title,
right,
but it makes sense. You don't have to find an excuse for Cena-Taker. Right. You don't have to shoehorn in a reason. That's enough reason. I have an article coming out Monday, I believe it is, for changes I would make to the Royal Rumble. And I'll go ahead and let you all in on one before it releases. One of my changes to the Royal Rumble is I would change the stakes. I would let the person who wins choose their match at WrestleMania. Say Brock Lesnar wins the Royal Rumble, but he doesn't give a damn about that world title. He wants his crack at Goldberg again.
Mm-hmm.
He can do that. That maybe, or maybe a guy like The Miz. Now this is just me throwing out an example. He also doesn't give a shit about the world title. He wants his Intercontinental title. We had a situation like that a few years ago in New Japan where the Intercontinental title became almost more highly regarded than the world title because the fans voted that in as the main event. I'm not saying that would be the case here, but you have a character like The Miz who is taken off. That could work for him. He ain't winning the Rumble, though.
I think the only issue with that, I mean, I think it's a cool idea. The only issue with that idea is I think WWE is ignorant to the fact that their titles don't have the meaning they used to. And I think that they still think that the world titles are the be-all and end-all. So to them, that's still the ultimate stake that you can get. The only thing to me that would make it more interesting is if they did put meaning back into the titles. And if they did, I mean, if Brock is supposed to be a prize fighter, and if in theory the champion makes the most money, then you would think that Brock would be going into the Rumble wanting to win to get that title shot to maximize his income. But it looks like that's not the case. Like you said, they're more looking at him getting a shot at Goldberg again. So they need to make the titles more meaningful. They, I believe, think that they are meaningful, and that's the only thing that's going to hold up that idea.
Hey, guys, if you all missed the Monday show after Raw, the Tuesday show after SmackDown, go check those out. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. We have guys saying it'll be Taker versus Braun at Mania 33. I think that is a horrible idea.
You know what? Braun's not ready. And quite honestly, I think even though it might be a bit of a shit show, I'd be more interested in seeing Brock and Braun, I think, than I would Taker and Braun. I think that Brock is more of the physical. I mean, Taker, who knows his physicality? I noticed on Raw, he's got a little pouch going now. Did you notice?
I didn't notice that.
He had surgery.
May have been a fanny pack.
Yeah, maybe he had a fanny pack underneath his singlet. Yeah, but Taker is getting older, and the physicality of a Braun Strowman. I think I'd rather see Brock and Braun. I think if they can build up Braun for another year, and I don't know how long Brock's contract has left, but Braun and Brock at 34, I think would be pretty tremendous.
And we've seen that as of a year ago, Braun Strowman could take German suplexes from Brock Lesnar, and he's done nothing but improve since then. Carlos Toro, our lead boxing writer, says, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Finn Balor wins the Rumble. I wouldn't be surprised if he were back. Those shoulder injuries tend to leave people out for like closer to 9-10 months, but you just never know because, of course, when he has surgery, they're going to say, well, it was a lot worse than we expected.
Right. I don't think Finn's going to be in. I don't think he's ready. I think he's starting Mania. But obviously there's lots of rumors about Nakamura. There's lots of rumors about Samoa Joe. I can see them doing a little tease with Samoa Joe and Brock, or Samoa Joe and Braun Strowman, or maybe even Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns. I can see them doing teases with guys like that. Finn Balor is great, but I don't think he's ready.
I'll be at NXT TakeOver the night before the Rumble too. Busy weekend. And of course we're going to have you covered. Somebody asks, when are we going to see a Fightful wrestling event? Wow.
You mean like an independent wrestling event?
We have enough talent, Jimmy, between Matt Riddle, Jason Kincaid, Elias can work a match.
Yep.
If Deanna and EC3 ever actually get around to riding for us, because both of those people have been very busy. Deanna about to head to Japan, EC3 in the middle of a 10-day schedule We've got enough talent to run a show, I think. Brandon Howard wrestles as well.
Is that right?
Oh, he cuts a hell of a promo.
Is that right? He's in Buffalo
yeah.
too. He's not far from me. Here's a question that the Fightful readers can answer. Would it be better to have Sean Ross Sapp in a singles match against Vince Russo, as you guys have talked about, or would it be better to have Sean and Matt Riddle as a tag team?
See, Matt works so much better as a singles guy. I've actually done a fair share. Hey, local promotion out here. I'm still tag team champion.
There you go. I see a lot of comparisons between Elias and Matt Riddle. You and I have talked about this. I see a lot of comparisons between those two guys. So what about a singles match, MMA or wrestling, between Elias and Matt? I think did Matt fight at what weight class was Matt in UFC?
170. But he really, as a human being, he would have been a lot better off as 185er.
And I think isn't Elias 185?
Yeah.
There you go. There's the perfect potential matchup. So maybe 2018 we'll talk about a Fightful card.
There you go. I'm all for it. Hey, Vince Russo doesn't want any of this. Here's a funny thing. When somebody mentioned Sean Ross Sapp and Vince Russo should be booked against each other, the first thing Vince Russo said is, as long as I go over.
I believe, and you know what? I got nothing against Vince. Vince was easy to work with, and him and I were cool.
Yeah.
But Vince is all about the dollar. I mean, that's why he worked for us. I think if you threw enough at him, there's a good chance he might do that match.
Yeah, I do too. You know what? I'm pretty sure I could map out a decent match with Vince Russo. Some smoke and mirrors.
Right.
I think I could make it happen. Hey, we got Shane Helms on the roster too.
That's right. Yeah.
We have a TNA agent who could map out that match.
That's right. I wonder if he's going to wear. Would he wear the helmet and the football jersey in that one? Come in the Pope Mobile?
He would have to. He still has the jersey. He posted it on Twitter the other day.
I saw that. I was wondering if he was doing that because he's going to sell it on eBay or something.
Maybe I should buy it, and that should kickstart the angle.
Oh,
I should use it as
dude, if you
paper.
can, I'll give you the money for it because it would be awesome.
Somebody says Riddle versus Russo, bro versus bro. You could realistically book a bro battle royal, a battle broil. Vince Russo, Matt Riddle, Robbie E. You could bring in DDP.
You remember? Do you remember Vader versus Ken Shamrock back in the day?
Yeah, I do.
And Shamrock was still pretty green, and he was potatoing Vader left and right. So Vader then gave him receipts. Riddle is pretty safe in the ring, but Russo is Russo, and I think Russo would get destroyed accidentally if he's in the ring with Matt Riddle.
Yeah, I would say so too. Fun to think about, though. There was this situation today I wanted to ask you about. Somebody posted ESPN's list of Royal Rumble winners.
Mm-hmm.
Under 2004, they have Eddie Guerrero listed.
Oh, really?
Obviously, he ain't the guy that won the Royal Rumble that year.
Uh-huh.
Now, to their credit, he did win a Royal Rumble that year. They had a SmackDown Royal Rumble 2 days later. It was taped 2 days after the Royal Rumble, in which he did win. I'm going back and watching all those, tweeting about them to put them together for a Fightful.com series that comes out maybe later this week, maybe next week. So, I mean, he technically did win a Royal Rumble. What do you think about them erasing Benoit from the history? Personally, going back through here and watching these Rumbles, the 2004 Rumble was the first match I've watched of Benoit's since the incidents.
Was it them intentionally striking Benoit's name from the record, or was it, kind of mainstream media ignorance?
It would have to be, because, I mean, I don't know how they would only get that one wrong.
Yeah.
And none others.
You remember when when that whole thing happened and WWE removed him? I think they even removed him from their DVDs back in the day and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can erase him from wrestling history. I mean, obviously, you're not going to put him in the Hall of Fame, but you're insulting the fans' intelligence by removing him from wrestling history. People remember, so just put his name.
Yeah. I don't have a problem. I mean, they remove his matcher mark, or the match markings, the timestamps from the WWE Network. I think even that's too much. Like they've started to add a few, like if it's Chris Jericho versus Chris Benoit, they'll have the markings say Chris Jericho in action. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in time, everything I'm not saying everything heals, because the situation, no one's getting healed from that situation as far as family, but in time you're able to kind of go back to doing what you were doing. And I think that's why we might see Hogan at WrestleMania, same exact situation. Not exact situation, but you understand what I'm saying.
How much is he mentioned in that encyclopedia behind you, or have you had a chance to look at it?
Oh, you're so detail oriented. That was given to me by a kid in my office by the name of Jasper, who picked my name in our secret Santa and got me the encyclopedia. And I am not much of a book reader anymore, so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna make this thing a prop in my office for the podcast. And good on you that you spotted that.
Well, listen, I also spot that title belt back there, and I believe you made some sort of wager with me that if an article that I requested for an ad didn't do the worst numbers ever, that I would get that title, right? I mean,
I don't recall that conversation taking place, and there was nothing in writing that I ever saw.
Jesus, of course. Of course. Somebody says, is Jamie Van the real $1 million man? He's getting everybody. Hey, that's one of the things I like about you, Jimmy. If I'm like, you know what, this guy's interesting on camera, you're like, go get him. Go get him. Oh, okay.
You know what? There is so much content now, you know, in general for people to consume, whether it be on the internet, whether it be television, whether it be whatever. You cannot put up a website like this and do nothing and just twiddle your thumbs and think that the incredible talent of Sean Ross Sapp alone is going to bring in the masses. Even though you are tremendous and you have brought people in, you got to spend a little bit of money. And that's why I told you that I've committed at least a year to this, and we have spent more money than I care to mention. But I like what we're doing. You know, I want to get the whole. I think Jeff called it last night a brand split with the wrestling and MMA. I want to get that finished up, but I like what we're doing. And I was not even really familiar with who Elias Theodoru was, even though he's Canadian. And now over the last couple of days, I've had a chance to talk to him a fair bit. He's a good dude, you know, and 12-1 record, and he's smart. And I will work with people like that all day long.
You heard it, guys. You heard it.
Did you see his wrestling? I sent you the link to his wrestling match, right?
Yeah, I've still got to check that out. It's been a busy week between all the podcasts and stuff. I've spent every waking hour until today. I was able to get out for about an hour working. So I'm going to get to that Elias thing very soon. I'm excited to check it out because I knew he had done one, but I didn't know like how elaborate it was. How was it?
So the way it all came up was him and I were talking over text message, and on his Twitter, he had mentioned the name Owen Hart. And so I just texted him and I said, are you into wrestling? Because you mentioned Owen Hart. And he started going off about the Young Bucks and telling me about an independent match that he had in Canada. And so he actually wants to do more wrestling. We might end up using him both on Fightful Wrestling and Fightful MMA because he wants to contribute more to the site on the wrestling side too. So we'll see how it goes.
Somebody says that we should book Alex versus Russo, and the loser has to review Monday Night Raw every week.
That is the ultimate. Isn't that the ultimate kick in the pants? If that was the loser reward.
I don't know if anybody could pay Vince enough to cover Monday Night Raw anymore.
Yeah, he walked away from it, right? He did.
That became the one gripe. That became the hang up.
Right.
Is that he was like, I cannot do this anymore. Let me do something else. And I was like, okay, review old Raws. And he's like, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
I was like, okay, all right. He didn't want to cover wrestling anymore, hey, maybe you can get him on Trig Tent talking politics. That seems to be his thing.
Oh, he's into that now? Yeah, we saw what happened with that whole airport comment. And what was the thing about – I don't want to go on a tangent about Vince because, again, he was cool to work with.
I like him.
Yeah, he was cool to work with, and I don't need to shit on him.
No. I'm just saying he might actually like to do political stuff.
Maybe, but I don't know if I want somebody writing for Trig that's saying, you know, women are not meant to be leaders. That's not I don't need to have that.
I think you should get his take each week on like the most controversial subjects.
Such as women are not meant to be leaders?
Well, that and Russian hookers peeing on beds.
Right.
Like
we'll talk about that. Another topic for another time.
Yeah. Either way, Eddie Guerrero won the 2004 Royal Rumble. That's what all this circles back to, basically.
Something that you haven't mentioned yet is the fact that I am wearing the Brock Lesnar
Oh God.
UFC Reebok fight kit, which I told you I was going to wear for you today. And there was a reason I was going to wear it for you today. You want to go ahead and explain that?
No, I don't know the reason.
No, you don't know the reason?
I don't know the reason.
So I admittedly am a Brock Lesnar guy. I've been a fan of Brock Lesnar for many, many years. And it's not because of his athletic ability, even though he is a tremendous athletic specimen and his wrestling success and his MMA success. The reason that I'm a fan of Brock Lesnar is because he says what he wants and he does what he wants. And he doesn't care about the repercussions. And I have found personally, in order to be successful in business, you need to have that mentality. The fact that he was the other night at a Winnipeg Jets hockey game in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I'm assuming you've never been to Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I don't want to rip anybody that lives in Winnipeg, Manitoba, but I have been there, and there's not a whole hell of a lot going on in Winnipeg, Manitoba. The fact that he was there with his ex-model wife, who was decked out to the nines, completely done up with a dress and everything, and Brock is taking her to a Jets game in Winnipeg. I was like, how can you not love that guy?
Yeah.
And so when you and I were talking about that, I told you when we do this thing on Wednesday, I am wearing the Brock shirt that I own in tribute to him because I thought it was hilarious that he brought Sable to a Jets NHL game in Winnipeg.
He loves his Canada, apparently.
Yes.
He was asked why he chose to wear that kit, and he said it's just pretty simple. I live there. It's not a political statement or anything. I live there.
That's right. And that's again one of the things I love about him is that he just says, he tells it like it is. I remember Ariel Helwani one time said to him, Eddie Alvarez, I think, did 1,500 rounds of sparring before a fight. And when Ariel asked him, how many rounds did you do prior to the Mark Hunt fight? Brock looked at him with a stone face and he said 3,000. And I just thought, this man is awesome. I love Brock Lesnar.
How many do you think he really did?
I'm going to go ahead and guess almost none.
Yeah.
Because you could tell by his striking stance, he just wants to take you down and pound you out. So.
Oh, yeah. He always had an okay jab, which a lot of wrestlers and judo players do because they're used to getting off on that front foot. But this isn't the MMA podcast.
No, so you and I were talking yesterday about how this is the Fightful Wrestling podcast. But I did say to you, anything that comes up in MMA that the wrestling audience might find interesting, we can address it. Like later on, I'm going to ask you about the Meril Streep thing because I think that wrestling people might find that interesting. We can still talk about interesting stuff. We just don't need to talk about who do you have with Habib and Tony Ferguson. We don't need to talk about that kind of crap.
Sure. A person asks, Jimmy Van, you've committed a year. If after a year it doesn't work, are you going to fire Sean live on the air?
Well, you told me that there is a Tim Hortons that is being opened near you. So I'll hook you up with a full-time job if this thing doesn't work out.
Nice. At Tim Hortons?
At Tim Hortons. Yeah, at Tim Hortons.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Maybe a free agent in 6 months, you guys. You never know.
You could be a Tim's barista.
Oh, Jesus. I'm not Patrick Cummins.
Or Tony Schiavone. You're not Tony Schiavone either.
Does he do that?
Starbucks.
Wow.
Yeah, he works at Starbucks. He said he did it for the benefits.
Wow. Now, I mean, I talk about there's a lot of hours per week in this. I'd rather do nothing else, really.
Right.
It's
and you do a good job. I like to have fun with you and bust your balls a little bit, but you do great. Whenever I need to reach you, it really doesn't matter what hour of the day. I think I sent you that Brock Jets thing at like 1 a.m. last night.
Yep.
And you responded. You're great.
Sometimes you got to make sacrifices to do what you want to do, and this is what I want to do. Goldberg apparently making some moral sacrifices as he will be living life in the fast lane. He's been announced for Fastlane. This is a couple of years after he was like, I don't think I'll ever be back. He's going to be wrestling at Fastlane, apparently.
He's going to wrestle at Fastlane.
It would appear so. He'll be there. He will be appearing in Milwaukee live. Oh, Milwaukee. That's where Alex is from.
Okay, I want Alex to get a sit-down interview with Goldberg in Milwaukee during Fastlane.
Done. Done.
I mean, obviously they're just going to set up the Brock match at Mania. What else? There's no other reason for him to be there, right?
It would make sense, I would think.
Especially with the kind of coin that he's looking to make. Fastlane is a B show. Why would you spend that kind of money on that show?
Yeah. We have a person that says, has WWE ever shown interest in Christopher Daniels? It's funny you mentioned that because I think we either just published an article or have one coming out. Christopher Daniels was supposed to be the higher power.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Bruce Pritchard revealed that on his podcast. Really good show. But Vince thought he was too small.
Yeah.
What could have been with Christopher Daniels? Because over the past 15 years, he has been a consistently excellent performer and is still doing it at a high level.
Yeah.
And would probably by now would have a backstage prominent job as he does in Ring of Honor. Did that surprise you to hear that Christopher Daniels was pegged for the higher power spot?
Yeah, because back then WWE was still kind of the land of the giants. And I think people sometimes don't realize that a guy like X-Pac or a guy like Jeff Hardy, who's always been positioned to be a smaller guy, those are big dudes. It's like X-Pac is like 6'1" or 6'2". I think Hardy is about that as well. They're not small guys. They just look small in comparison to Kane and Triple H and The Rock. Daniels is a dwarf compared to those guys. So I'm surprised that his name even came up. And I'm not surprised that it got next.
Isn't that crazy that a 5'10", maybe 6 feet guy, 215, 220 pounds, that's a heavyweight in MMA, considered small in pro wrestling at any point, let alone back then.
I don't think he's 220 legit. He can't be.
No, not 220 legit. He's like 210, 250.
Is he that much?
Yeah, you'd never realize how big they are until you see him in person. Yeah,
because Daniels has always had that. He's always had that natural physique, like the non-enhanced physique.
Yes.
So he doesn't even look like a 200-pounder to me.
This is going to sound weird. You know what I bet hurt him as well? He had that terrible haircut back then.
Right.
With his hairline all the way back here. He shaved his head and he instantly looked 10 years younger.
Right, right. He also wore the eye makeup, which might have been Taker gimmick infringement at that time.
Tommaso Ciampa. Do you remember the Muhammad Hassan angle?
I remember this being talked about. I don't recall the end.
Yeah.
I remember recently it being talked about.
Tommaso Ciampa portrayed Muhammad Hassan's manager in like 2005, and he was like 22 years old.
Right.
Fast forward 11, 12 years, he shaves his head, he's got gray in his beard, and somehow he looks younger than he did when he was 22 in 2005 during that angle. It's so weird the way that works out. And
now he's a quote unquote wrestling rookie in NXT.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Chris Hero's back. We had the exclusive video of him breaking a top rope with his big ass on Fightful.com. Thanks to our reader David, also known as Chief, who not surprisingly visited Matt Riddle with that type of name at that show. What do you think about them bringing back Chris Hero as Cassius Ohno? Getting a little bit of that buzz back.
That's the only issue that I have with the whole thing is calling him Cassius Ohno. I think that a long-time problem with WWE is that they just insult the intelligence of the audience, and the NXT audience is a hardcore audience. They know exactly who he is, and I question why can you have Samoa Joe as Samoa Joe and Bobby Roode as Bobby Roode and AJ Styles as AJ Styles, but then you got to call this guy Cassius Ohno. Everybody knows that's Chris Hero. So that's my only issue. As far as bringing him back, I think it's necessary for him to restock the cupboards in NXT because Nakamura's ready. Samoa Joe's ready, Bobby Roode's ready, and if you bring those guys up, you don't have anybody else down there to headline the show, so they have to go after more guys. So I'm all for it, but I question why they call him Cassius Ohno when everybody knows who he is.
So it's funny you mentioned that because I have a weekly talk with one person in particular from WWE, and this person will either give me really, really good stuff or they'll stonewall me with a bunch of horse shit. Mm-hmm. And they're probably watching the show. And when I asked about Hero and his name, I got stonewalled with the horse shit. I was told, and I brought up AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and they said, well, he's never been on national TV. They have.
He's never been on what?
National TV. He's never had national TV exposure.
I mean, Nakamura came from Japan. A lot of the U.S. audience probably wasn't familiar with him.
I said that, and they were like, well, he was on Access. And I was like, is this like a real thing. Like
Right.
it's a little unusual, but
Right. There must be another reason for it. I mean, you remember when this is a really obscure reference, but when the Road Warriors came in and they had to be the Legion of Doom because they already had a warrior with the Ultimate Warrior.
yeah.
Is it because they didn't want to have another Chris? I don't know of another hero on the roster, so maybe they just didn't want to have another. I mean, I don't know. But it's just so stupid that they call him Cassius Ohno when everybody knows who he is.
Well, I mean, Shane Helms got an entirely new gimmick because his name was Shane.
Right.
Hey, it worked out for him. So
yeah. Hurricane was great.
Had two Shanes.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Just the way they think sometimes. I don't know. And I don't want this to be a shit on WWE podcast, but it's just funny to me that they don't. Because here's how I look at it. I look at it like Hunter is not stupid. Like I find that Triple H has a finger on the pulse. I think he keeps up to date on what's going on the independent scene. Vince, I think, lives in a bubble. I don't think Vince knows anything about anything. I don't think he follows Ring of Honor. I don't think he knows anything about Flow Slam. But I think Hunter follows everything. And I think that guys like Chris Hero coming back are his influence. And so I just question why Hunter, who knows what's going on, why he wouldn't push to just call him Chris Hero.
I wish they would. NXT had lost some of that buzz. Really, since pretty much August, I would say, that buzz has went down significantly. They lost a lot of people to the draft. I went to an NXT show. Of course, we have video of that NXT show on our YouTube. Follow us, subscribe to us. And they lost Finn Balor. They lost Bayley. They lost American Alpha. They lost a ton of guys. They're probably going to lose Austin Aries to 205 Live whenever he's back to begin with. Do you think this helps with that buzz?
No. I don't think Hero is a needle mover. I think he's a good hand. I think he's a good guy to have up on the roster. He provides Nakamura with another challenger. But no, I don't consider him the guy that's going to shift the momentum. You know, there's more guys they need to try to get, but you look at a guy like Nakamura. I'm a big fan of Nakamura. I think I wrote an article once about how he kind of lit a fire under me when it comes to being a fan of wrestling. He has outgrown the NXT product, and it's time to bring him up to WWE. But again, who do you have there if you don't have him? So they got to stock the cupboards. But Hero's not going to be the needle mover. He's just a good hand to have.
I can't remember the last national dates that NXT did. I'm going to have to go back and look. But it seemed like last year they were doing him all the time. Well,
they also had a big buzz on the women too.
Yeah. And
now they're all up on the main roster. All the ones that were really prominently featured.
There was no reason to bring Dana Brooke up.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but
no reason.
I mean, Bayley's lost a lot of buzz in WWE. I don't think she's been handled well at all. When you look at how popular she was in NXT. But they really, again, I don't want to keep on using stock the cupboards as a reference, but they need to. They need to get that next wave of performers that they can build around down there.
Yeah, they haven't done national touring for a month, since the Las Vegas show in December, December 17th, they were in Riverside the 15th, and they did the Australia tour. It seems like it's been a lot longer than that.
Right. Yeah.
Since they've done that, and I don't know if that's a product of – I don't know exactly what that's a product of. I know they're going to be in Indianapolis, I think, tomorrow, and actually Louisville Friday. I should see if they're coming anywhere close. No, they're going to Lakeland and stuff. So they're doing a couple national dates. That's good, but I think if you lose Nakamura, that takes a hit big time.
Yeah, that's the problem that they're going to run into, but you can't keep him down there forever. There's money on the table with him to bring him up. Imagine that entrance at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah. Imagine that entrance just anytime.
Right, yeah. So they're going to have to figure something out. Maybe Muda's got one more run in him. They can bring Muda in and let him, spew mist at people.
I had no idea NXT was going to be in Louisville this Friday, which tells you plenty.
You can go check it out?
Probably not. That's 3 hours away from me. I'd be better off going to maybe not. Maybe going to Indianapolis. It's about 3 hours, 10 minutes, and it's a better city. Louisville sucks. University of Kentucky fan here. John Cena gonna take some more time off later this year. We knew about this in October or November, but it was officially announced. He's got another movie project coming up. He has backpedaled on his statements about The Rock that he made a few years ago. And I thought that was big of him to do that, to just flat out say, I was wrong. How do you feel about him taking this time off? Do you think this, in turn, extends his career?
Yeah, I think there's nothing but positives coming out of it. I think that if you think back to Mania last year when he was injured and Rock was doing the deal with the Wyatts and Cena's music hit, the crowd did not boo that night. The crowd popped that night when Cena came out. I think that if he's used as a part-time special attraction like a Brock Lesnar, like an Undertaker, I think they're going to get more mileage out of him. I think that maybe even his merch sales might be improved if, he only comes out every few months with a new T-shirt. And quite honestly, if you're John Cena, how can you blame the guy? Seriously. He's been there for 15 years. Remember, for a long time, he was like an injury-free guy. He was like Teflon Man for a while. But over the last several years now, he's endured a lot of injuries because it catches up to you. He's turning 40. And I think he's earned it. I mean, if he's now getting movie offers, why would he not take them? So I have no problem with it at all. I think that SmackDown especially, I think AJ Styles is doing a good job. I think that they need to work on elevating more main eventers because after Styles and Cena right now, there's not a whole lot going on in the main events. But no, I have no problem with it at all. And at least he did come out and say he was wrong about the Rock thing and he didn't try to bullshit his way out of it. So cool with it.
It seemed like they were gearing Baron Corbin towards that. He lost to Cena clean the other night. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. There are a lot of people that had a problem with it. It's John Cena. Now, I don't know if you're trying to get a guy over, that's not maybe the best thing to do, but what were your feelings on that?
So I might be in the minority, and I know sometimes I've written some stuff about Baron Corbin and people have commented and said I'm wrong. I don't see main event in Baron Corbin. I just don't. I don't see a draw as a main eventer in Baron Corbin. I don't see a guy that you can send out and do mainstream interviews, given his attitude and given his personality.
He's the most metal athlete.
Yeah, great, good for him. I just don't. I don't see main event in Baron Corbin. I don't, and I never have. And so, if that's a guy that they think they're going to be able to hitch their wagon to, good luck. I just don't see it. I think that he's a strong mid card, maybe upper mid card kind of guy. He's not going to be a draw as a main eventer.
It's time for us to play the Vince McMahon role, Jimmy. We have 3 people named Andrew in our live chat. We got to change 2 of those. One of them's Andy. One of them doesn't get a first name. Sorry, guys. That's the way we got to go with that. I'm going to list off the confirmed Royal Rumble entrants. And I want you to give me perhaps a percentage of likelihood, maybe a betting line that you would set for them winning.
Oh, let Miz be the first one, please. Can Miz be the first one?
Sure, The Miz. Former WWE champion, WrestleMania main eventer, The Miz.
I can't help but look at The Miz, and I just see a guy that is not intimidating. I mean, I'm sorry, that's how I look at it. I see a guy that I would not be afraid to fight if I had to. Maurice has helped his career a lot. If he wins the Royal Rumble, there are serious issues with the WWE booking strategy. No chance that Miz wins the Royal Rumble. I would probably bet my company on it. How do you like that?
Hey, does that title come with it?
Does what come with it?
Does that title belt come with it?
Tell you what, sure. The title belt can go with it. Sure.
Former world heavyweight champion, Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler. Okay, let me ask you a question. What do you think over the last, say, 2 or 3 years, what do you think about Dolph Ziggler? What do you think about his performances in the ring? What do you think about his character development? How do you feel about Dolph Ziggler over the last 2 or 3 years?
Character development non-existent until last week, the heel turn. Nothing has stood out about his in-ring work outside of that Survivor Series performance where Sting showed up and his Miz feud. The Miz matches, those were really, really good. Those took me by surprise. But little to no character development until the heel turn last week. And still, I don't know if him losing is that much of a development.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the booking is out of his hands. And obviously, if they're going to ask him to put people over, you got to do what you got to do. But I look at a guy like Dolph Ziggler. The guy's a veteran of so many years. What are you doing tuning up the band? Like, seriously, what are you doing using sweet chin music as your finisher? I just don't understand. I don't understand how. To me, Shawn Michaels is still a relevant performer. He was just on Raw on Monday. He's still a relevant performer. It's not like you took somebody's finisher from 50 years ago and made it your own. You're using moves from a guy that retired within the last 5, 10 years, whatever it's been, a guy that's still relevant, still on television. I've lost a lot of interest in a guy like Dolph Ziggler outside of his booking and outside of the fact he's had to put people over, because maybe he's just calling it in now. Maybe he's just sick of the way he's been booked. He doesn't care anymore. But taking blatant moves from a guy still relevant to the business, I just don't get it. And I'm glad he's turning heel. I think that he needs something to freshen him up, but I don't see a whole lot in Dolph anymore.
You talk about taking moves from a guy still relevant in the business. Seth Rollins uses the pedigree. He's in this Rumble match. What do you put his odds at?
That's a different one, because storyline-wise, he was supposedly given it by Hunter because they were together at the time. I didn't see Shawn Michaels go on Raw and tell Dolph Ziggler, go ahead and start tuning up the band. So it's a little bit different. Seth is, I think, if you want to pick, say, the top 5 guys that have the potential to win, Seth's one of those 5.
New United States champion, another former world champion, Chris Jericho. Maybe the hottest he's been as a performer, as it pertains to reaction, in years.
Yeah. I wish that a guy like Randy Orton could learn from a guy like Chris Jericho, because Randy Orton, although the wife thing now is a little bit different, but otherwise you could look at Randy Orton 10 years ago. You could look at Randy Orton a year ago, and you wouldn't even know that time had went by. Same
haircuts and tattoos.
Right,
that's
and
it.
The beard, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Same ring entrance, same music, same gear, same moves, skill set, same everything. Every time Jericho has been out there, every run and every babyface turn, heel turn, heel turn, he has changed something every single time. He has made himself different or recreated himself every single time. And that's why Jericho how can you not love Chris Jericho? How can you just not love him? So he's not going to win the Rumble. He's not even going to be a top 5 guy in the Rumble. I think he's leaving after Mania to do some Fozzy stuff. But how can you not love the fact that he knows how to recreate himself every time, over and over again?
Next up, we have your boy, Baron Corbin.
Oh yeah. You know, I'm going to tell you something funny, because I've been working on this, and now talking about Baron Corbin, maybe I should do it. I want to get a life-size cutout of Virgil. And I had asked Lindsay, a girl on my team that Sean knows, I asked her to try to get it done, and she's having trouble getting it done. I want a life-size cutout of Virgil with the silver vest and the crossed arms, and I want to put them right here over my shoulder when I do this. I should get another one of Baron Corbin and put it over on this shoulder, over here.
Jimmy, let me just explain the flaw here. Is she trying to contact like a poster maker or something?
She actually found a life-size cutout company, if you can believe it.
Okay. Here's the thing. I've got Virgil's email. Have her email him. He'll just stand there for you for the right price. Because I emailed him for an interview,
yes,
and he responded like a minute later and said, how much?
I remember. You know what? He might do that for less than Russo got paid to do the podcast.
I wouldn't doubt it at all.
Yeah.
Russo got paid very well to do the show.
That's not a bad idea. But that's what I want to do. You know what I think is going to happen? I could see there being a standoff at one point between Corbin and Braun, because you've got your SmackDown guy they're building and the Raw guy that they're building. I could see them having a little standoff, but I think that standoff will end with Braun dumping his ass over the top rope. Baron's not winning the Rumble.
Those standoffs are really cool. Like as I've watched all these Rumbles, like there have been some iconic ones, like even Earthquake and Yokozuna. The crowd was like, "Oh damn!"
Right? Remember Hogan Warrior? I mean, that one is legendary, right? Now, granted, Braun and Baron, I don't think the crowd's going to respond like, "Oh my god," but I think
it's a Rumble crowd. They might.
Maybe, but
I'm gonna go embarrassingly crazy during that show.
Okay, I hope I can spot you in the crowd, because if I can, then if they do Baron and Strawn at one point, I want to see you jumping up and down in your seat. I'm going to be trying to look for you.
It's floor seats, so you may not be able to see me behind other people. I don't know. The 3 members of the longest reigning tag team champions ever, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, Big E, the members of the New Day.
What the hell was that Titus O'Neil segment on Raw? What the hell was that?
Shit. It was shit.
They're making heels baby faces with that stuff. What the hell? Anyway, they'll get in their fun little spot. You know, maybe Francesca is going to be a last-minute Royal Rumble entrant or something stupid. They become a comedy act. They're no longer really a serious tag team entity anymore. So they'll get their little comedy in, and then they'll get dumped out. That'll be it.
Braun Strowman.
So this is, I think, the only guy that, if you look at everybody that either writes for Fightful or does the podcast for Fightful, I think we all are in agreement on Braun Strowman. He might be the only one that we all love.
Yeah.
And it's funny that that this big hairy beast is a dude that we all love. I think Braun is awesome. A guy that big who can run, who's that fast. The reverse choke slam sucks, but he's using the running power slam now, which I think is great. Braun's great. This is gonna be the spotlight match for Braun. This is gonna be the one. He is going to dump, probably a dozen guys or 10 guys or whatever it is they decide. He's going to get his showcase moment. And I think it's going to be a big guy that takes him out. I could even see them having, say, Goldberg and Brock decide and stand off for a second and take him out because they recognize that he's a threat. So this is going to be a spotlight match for Braun Strowman, 100%.
I hope so as well. This is a very low-risk, high-reward type of match for WWE and Braun Strowman. It's funny because this – when I talked to some people from the Performance Center, they said last year Braun Strowman got in there and he practiced his over-the-top rope bumps.
Right.
And that is one of his strengths. You'll see him go to that a lot.
Right.
So he can bump over the top rope. You have him toss people over. You don't really have him sell until you eliminate him.
Yep, I agree. And
I
love, you know what, a couple of weeks ago because they had built him for months against enhancement talent and lower level talent, when they all of a sudden put him in with Seth Rollins, I was concerned because I thought this is not going to be good. They're going to be having him taking a bunch of bumps for Seth Rollins, but they didn't. And so I love it. I love that he's taking high risk moves from Seth and he's selling, but he's not going down. He's one of the few guys right now that I think they're doing a pretty good job with. So looking forward to seeing what he does in the Rumble.
Brock Lesnar, former Royal Rumble winner, former WWE champion, former King of the Ring, all that stuff.
So rumor has it that I'm a fan of Brock Lesnar, and that I wore
Allegedly.
this Reebok. What do they call it? They call it a kit.
Fight kit. Isn't that stupid?
It's. I don't need to talk about Dana White right now, but we will in a minute. Though I want to talk about the Meril Streep thing in a minute. But Brock is going to be one of the last guys in. I envision that Goldberg's going to eliminate him because that's going to lead to their match at Mania. But I think he'll be one of the last guys in, unless they do the thing where halfway through they have their standoff. Goldberg gets him out. But Brock he's there so infrequently. You got to make the best use of him that you can.
One guy left.
What was that?
There's one guy left. He is one William S. Goldberg.
I mean, again, I think Goldberg and Brock are going to be tied together. I could even see them doing some crap where Brock gets eliminated, runs back out, and tosses him. Because they change the rules on that all the time. Sometimes once you're eliminated, you can eliminate somebody else. Other times you can. And it seems they change the rules as they go along. They're going to be tied together somehow, Brock and Goldberg, I think. Unless maybe they decide, they were teasing Jericho and Roman and those other guys with Goldberg. Maybe one of those will take him out. Maybe Braun Strowman will be the guy to take him out. He'll be prominently featured.
I would imagine the Wyatt family will eventually be added as well. And that's a couple of big names. Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt. I don't think either one will win it, but hey, there's nothing wrong with adding these big names. And they've done that with still 2.5 weeks to go.
All I gotta say
Alex,
is
I hope he go ahead. Sorry,
I was going to say, I just hope that the surprises are good surprises, because how many years have they left 5 spots open and then one of them is Kalisto or something? You know what I mean?
Nobody cares about him.
No, so I really hope that they utilize these properly. Everybody is expecting one or several of Nakamura, Samoa Joe, maybe Bobby Roode even. I think Nakamura for sure people are expecting. I think Samoa Joe people are expecting. So they better utilize them. And I think DDP is going in the hall. So I could see DDP maybe being one again. So.
Well, DDP said that he's never throwing out another diamond cutter. He retired it. So do you think that changes things?
I think the ability to be on television wearing your DDP yoga t-shirt and getting a little bit of rub will change everything for Diamond Dallas Page.
That's a very, very good point.
I think if you got the call from Hunter saying, hey, yeah, you can wear your little shirt and want you in the Rumble, but you got to drop a diamond cutter, he'll have no problem doing that.
Speaking of giving somebody the rub, guys, go check out Elijah Burke's charity, the Pope Elijah Burke. He's running a charity event this Saturday. Great thing that helps the disadvantaged in Jacksonville. So check his stuff out. Love Alive charity. Very, very, very good cause. You know, I once got somebody to pay $75 for me to send a beanie to Vince Russo to wear on air that got donated to that charity. And
did he wear it?
He wore it.
Oh, we got to get like a screen cap or something of that.
He wore it. My favorite screen cap that I was organizing folders for the images and thumbnails we use, and there was one of Vince smoking weed on his own podcast. And at any time he would like say something ridiculous in one of his columns he wrote for us, I would use that thumbnail just to kind of,
awesome.
Just to kind of irk people.
Do you think that we could maybe do something similar and get Matt to wear like khakis and a cardigan and maybe like part his hair and slick his hair over and stuff like that?
That would be great. That's a great like heel version of Matt Riddle.
For charity. Oh
yeah, we could get the corporate Matt Riddle.
Instead of bro, he has to say sir.
You could get him to wear one of those old beanies with the propellers.
Yeah. You should talk to him to see if he's up for doing something for charity. We could do that.
That would be very cool. So, Jimmy, anything you're looking forward to in particular Royal Rumble weekend before we go?
The Rumble is my second favorite show of the year, and the match itself is probably my favorite match of the year, even exceeding Mania. Love the concept, love the surprise. Looking forward to seeing what they do with Braun. So I'm looking forward to the Rumble. I want to segue for a second because I know that we're almost ready to wrap up. I want to segue for a second, and I want to ask you a question about this Meril Streep thing.
Yeah.
I want your opinion. And again, people that are wrestling fans, not MMA fans, will still, I think, find this interesting, which is why I want to bring this up. So quick backstory. The Golden Globes, Meril Streep, what is she, a 60-something actress, went off on a tangent about Donald Trump.
I lost
For whatever reason, this is what I want your opinion on. The MMA community just went off and got so rattled by that. And Dana White was posting videos freaking out.
Canadian internet messed up again, Jimmy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me try again. So here's my question for you. So she's a 60-something, white actress who is very obviously uninformed and uneducated when it comes to mixed martial arts. She made that comment to take a shot at Trump. It wasn't taking a shot necessarily at MMA. My question for you is, why would people get rattled by that when somebody is clearly uninformed and clearly uneducated about MMA? Why would they let that bother them at all?
Well, I can kind of tell you why, because I had people in my inbox who didn't know any better saying, I didn't know it was that bad in MMA. And I was like, it's not.
Right.
The UFC has over 300 foreign fighters. Now, if you want to refer to it as not the fine arts, that's fine. But she said not the arts. Now, okay, she didn't specify. Was it worth a lot of the people getting upset about? Probably not. But the issue is, for how long you got guys like Bob Arum, who have tried to perpetuate this image that MMA is a bunch of racist skinhead white dudes with tattoos punching each other in the face. That's not it. There are over 300 foreigners on the UFC roster. Jimmy, I think you contract about half of them to do podcasts on this show. So, I thought it was a very uneducated statement. I appreciate the sentiment. I do. I am far from a Trump supporter. I don't want to get into politics on here, but I worry about, as a guy who's in the media, I worry about our freedom of the press. That's my issue. Fortunately, Canadians pay me, so Hey,
I mean, the way I look at it is if it had been, let's say it was Joe Rogan that made that comment, or let's say it was Floyd Mayweather, or let's say it was somebody in the combat sports community, then I can understand Dana White maybe getting a little ruffled over that. It was fucking Meryl Streep.
outside of his uppity 80-year-old woman comment, I thought he handled it pretty well. Like he was on TMZ and he said, she's not exactly in our demographic.
Right.
That's not really the type of person we go after.
Right.
He said it would be like me calling her not a talented actress. It's not true. She is. Maybe she needs to be a little more educated about it. The uppity 80-year-old woman thing is what got the most play, and it should have. I mean, that's what's grabbing the headlines.
Right.
I thought that there were some people like Tamden McCrory and James Vick who handled it really, really bad, and who I don't like the kind of people who use the terms liberal or conservative as an insult.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think as soon as somebody does that, I'm not listening to you anymore.
Right.
Because I see what's up.
I just thought nothing of it. I am not an award show fan. I actually hate award shows. Yeah. It's the glorification of celebrity, and I hate it. But I heard about the comments the next day, and I just chuckled. I thought, here's this older lady that doesn't know anything about MMA. I couldn't believe it when I heard that so many people were getting rattled about it. I mean, seriously, who cares?
Normally, I'd just be like, who gives a damn? But the next day on Facebook, just Facebook alone, I had six people that were like, man, is this the case? Is that true? Like about the foreigners, nothing about the arts.
Right.
There were a lot of people that got up in arms about arts. She should have specified that those aren't the fine arts. That's not acting. She tried to insinuate that only sports would be on TV.
Yeah.
That's what she was getting at.
Yeah. No, but again, it's Meryl Streep making a one-off flippant remark. I can't believe somebody would listen to Meryl Streep make a comment about MMA and ask you if it was true. Like, are you kidding? Yeah.
I've never watched a Meryl Streep movie.
Oh, yes, you have. You're lying. You're lying.
I've never watched a Meryl Streep movie. I looked through her IMDb. I've never watched a one. The closest thing that I've watched to a Meryl Streep movie was the guy in Striptease with Demi Moore saying that Meryl Streep used to strip. That's the closest I've been.
I think that you have seen The Devil Wears Prada on Netflix like 3 dozen times. And I think it's like a once a month routine you have with your wife, and you're just trying to play the cool guy. But it's all right. She's all right. Have you seen Kramer versus Kramer?
Fun fact, I actually stopped seeing a girl, I think it was 2006. I remember the year, because she said, you have to go with me to watch The Devil Wears Prada.
Now, did you stop seeing her because you were offended because you'd already seen it and you couldn't believe that she hadn't yet?
I don't double dip. So there you go. It's a waste of money. I've got to be fiscally conservative.
Do you know what Cody is?
Of course I do. I've got it.
Oh, do a search.
Wait, no, I don't. No, I don't. I watch everything legally.
It's not illegal. It's not illegal. It's an app you can download. It's not illegal.
I think it's still technically piracy. People have pirated this show, a free show.
Really?
There are people who will go download our members only shows before they are released to non-members, and they will put them on like torrent sites.
Why?
Because fuck the establishment, Jim
I guess. It's like
you are the man, and they are sticking it to you, Jimmy.
I am very clearly all about the establishment. Look at me. Isn't it obvious?
How dare you make us register for a free account?
That's pretty awesome. I'm a little bit. That's a compliment to me a little bit. The people.
That's a little flattering.
It is. I love it. Back in the day when I had my website, do you remember GeoCities?
Of course.
Back in the day when I had my website, somebody created a GeoCities site called I Hate Jimmy Van.
Ooh.
And they put up stock photos of like kids getting bullied in school, and they would write underneath them taglines like, here's Jimmy in the 7th grade getting bullied again, kind of thing. Clearly they did it thinking I was going to get all upset. I loved it. And I was hitting the guy up saying, can I please interview you for my site? Because I thought it was awesome.
So that's great. Yeah. One of the reasons why Twitter finally verified me was because trolls had made several fake Sean Ross Sapp accounts. So the trolls helped me get verified. Hey, that ain't bad.
People have a lot of time on their hands, man. Clearly.
Oh yeah.
Clearly.
Oh yeah. I used when I was a young person, I would embrace that negativity and really and I hate. Now I'm just like, how do you have the time, people?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
I don't get offended by it at all. I find it funny, and the fact that people would put the time and effort into something like that, you got to feel a little bit flattered by it. You have to.
Yeah. Anything to tell the people before we go?
So as you guys know, we're doing, as Jeff called it, a brand extension. We're going to be creating FightfulWrestling.com, FightfulMMA.com. We're doing that because, again, not everybody is a crossover fan. Fightful's going to remain covering all genres. We've been going through some tech issues the last couple of days because doing the separation has created a little bit of issues on the back end. So be patient with us. I expect it's all going to be done inside of a week. And then that's it, man. You and I will keep doing this thing on Wednesdays for a while. Joe is spinning off to do his MMA podcast, and we'll see how things go.
Yeah, guys, some of our MMA features aren't showing up. Just go to MMA Home. Check them out there. We've got tons of MMA coverage, features from Showdown Joe, Konstantin Eckner. Lots of cool stuff coming your way. We also have, I believe, a boxing feature from Gabe Oppenheim tomorrow. And Carlos Toro, he's got a January preview coming out. He will actually be at the Barclays Center covering an event soon. Very excited to see what all he has for us there. Follow us at Fightful Wrestle, Fightful MMA, Fightful Online. The top two are coming soon. We're still Twitter eggs right now, but I assure you, those are the real accounts. They are coming, my friends. That's where you're going to find the MMA live tweets, the pro wrestling live tweets. Lots of fun stuff. Fightful.com. Visit the site. Don't make him fire me and hire me at Tim Hortons on air, guys. Hold my future.
I almost want to fire you for a weekend just to see you in the gear, in the Tim Hortons gear. I think that hat, because they do like a hat with the little thing on it, the visor. I think that would look tremendous on you.
I feel like if you fired me, I'd probably just take the weekend off.
Don't you have no worries about anything. We are chugging along. Things are going to be fine. We are in the building phase, as you know. So stay tuned.
I may need a raise because I don't know how many more of these I can afford.
Those aren't good for you, man.
These are 0 calorie.
Look at all the stuff. Look at the ingredients in that. That stuff is not good for you.
Lemon pulp is fantastic for you.
And that's all that's in it. That's all that's in it.
I say lemon pulp because I can't pronounce anything else that's in it.
That's right.
Guys, Showdown Joe will be here with Sean Pearson, UFC fighter, tomorrow night. I will be here with Matt Riddle tomorrow afternoon. The Shane Helms show, we'll figure something out. Shane is in the middle of a grueling TNA taping schedule right now. Jimmy Van, I wanted to hit you with a stat before we leave. Maybe I'll do this each week. Fightful.com podcast co-hosts in the UFC and the Ultimate Fighter are 13-1 since 2012.
I know what you're going to say. Go ahead. I've heard you say it twice.
No. I'm just saying we don't hire any washed-up people here.
Well, you know what? Elias is fighting next month in Halifax.
He says he's still going to do the show that week.
Yes, he does, because I've become a big fan of his in a very short period of time because I wasn't familiar with who he was. He's going to be a good pickup for us. So if he wins, then we're going to be, what did you say we are in total? 13-1, you said?
Yeah.
So that means that if he wins, 14-1. There you go.
Hey, you talked about the Matt Riddle thing. You know Sean Pearson beat Matt Riddle once, right?
I'm the one that told you that. So yes.
Yeah, you did.
And it's I don't know if we're putting that up on Sean's little, the little blurb on the site. Have you talked to Matt? Because I would love for you to tell him that his first UFC loss is now joining us for a weekly podcast.
You know I'm going to bring it up.
Oh, you have to. But
also, guys, go check out Matt's reaction to Camp WWE on our YouTube. Phenomenal. That's it, guys. Till next week. You joining me every Wednesday, Jimmy?
Every Wednesday, so long as my schedule permits. Yeah.
Awesome. Guys, we're out.